Bob, let's take it right off the bat. First-round pick, Taliese Fuaga. Saints needed both a left and a right tackle. Who knows with Ryan Ramczyk. Your thoughts on Fuaga?
Well, he's a starter. I'm like, you want him to be a starter at tackle, but I'm like, okay, we need 5 studs because when the Saints were really rolling, they had that on the offensive line. So I think now what's Ryan Ramczyk? I think for sure he could start at right tackle. He definitely could start at, I would say, left guard because we have our right guard. We have our center and the right guard. But who's going to be the left tackle?
Everything else is flip of the coin.
Yeah, left guard, left tackle, right tackle. Now, I look, I've dogged Andrews Pete because I think he's a monster of a man. I don't know how much he loves football, but what he did at left tackle was pretty formidable last year. So, and then you look at Fuaga. Did I pronounce his name right?
Fuaga is.
Yeah, okay. He's never played left tackle, but I think he can. But I know for sure he could start at right tackle or guard.
He's comfortable at right tackle.
Yeah, and I think left. So that's why, okay, we can put him at left tackle. So, it could be a situation where, okay, in theory, I don't know, let's say you bring back Andrews Pete and you had him at left guard. And then we have the center right guard, and then Ryan Ramczyk would play. And then he'd be okay for this season. I'm not talking about in the future. Then I think we'd be all right right there. Now, what I don't know at guard is how is Sal DeVere? So Nick, how is he going to work out? Because I would maybe have more confidence in him right now than Trevor Penning. But can one of them work out? If you can just get one of them, Trevor Penning or Nick Saldiveri, can one of them work out and be a legit starter like in the interior? I don't know about Penning, like I always said, at tackle. I think at guard. But can Saldiveri be a guy to me? That's why I'm interested to see what's going to happen with him.
Bob, one of the things you and I have talked about this, man, when you play Oregon State, they're not maybe the most talented team, but you better put that mouthpiece in and you better strap up because, man, they are a very physical, aggressive team. Because you know why every one of them on that team is, man, if I was better, I'd probably be at Oregon. I'm going to show you how good I am.
Well, he's a super Samoan. If you look at him, some scouts that project him as guard rather than tackle. And I think they were thinking more, they know for sure he'd work out at guard, and they think, well, he can play at a high level at right tackle, but he's almost a slam dunk at guard, but left tackle, he's never done that. So that's why I don't know what would come about there. But I know he's a starter. To me, the two guys that they drafted, the first 2 picks, him and Kool-Aid, that, they got to contribute from the get-go. Ain't no developmental. They got to play from the get-go. Now, the one thing that's interesting, and when I think of like Kool-Aid McKinstry, now, this is the key. We have 4 stud cornerbacks right now, but they all want to play on the outside. Alontae Taylor, he's very confident. But, Mike, he was not confident on the slot. He did not want to play there. Paulson Adebo, very confident on the outside. Marshawn Lattimore was being interested in him. It's all outside. Mike, Alontae Taylor, Paulson Adebo, Lattimore are outside. So to me, the question is right now when you go look at the OTAs, can Kool-Aid McKinstry, can he play on the slot? Now, it'd be interesting to see what's going to happen with Lattimore come June 1st. But to me, that's the key. We still need that slot cover corner who has that swagger. Because, Mike, I always tell you this. If you're playing outside cornerback and you're good, you can hang in the NFL. You got like an extra help all the time because of the sideline. Now, when you're on the slot, you got to protect inside, outside, vertical. Where if you're on the outside, you protect vertical and inside because you got the boundary. So that's what's interesting. Can Kool-Aid be that guy that can count on in the slot? I think that will go a long way. The only reason why I could see them, they could be disgruntled and stuff happens behind the scenes with Lattimore and all that, is that, you're never going to have too many pass rushes. You can never have, again, too many cover corners. All of a sudden, while you're rolling, somebody gets hurt. So all I know is we'd be amongst the best. And
if everybody's healthy.
Oh, without a doubt. Mike, we'd have 4 guys. If you look at, you have Lattimore, Adebo, Alante Taylor, and Kool-Aid, I think we'd be as good as any team in the NFL in that regard.
Bob, I think had he not had the foot injury and the surgery, he would have never made it to round 2.
But, Mike, what do you think? Like everybody's intrigued. Oh, you ran a 4.5 But he got unbelievable football instincts.
Man, Nick Saban said it on the air. His instincts, his ability to put himself in a position to make a play or at the highest level. Okay? We talking about Nick Saban. He came on with, Kool-Aid came on with us the Friday night and was like, man, every day Coach Saban was in that cornerback room. And he was giving you instruction technically. Watch that film. This is what you did wrong. This is what you did right. Man, you coached by one of the greatest defensive back coaches ever.
Well, Mike, he's a typical Nick Saban pupil. Nick Saban could coach till he was 100 if he lived that long, if he was coaching Kool-Aid, that kind of guy, because he understands. He understands concepts. He understands a rhyme or reason why you're doing certain things. And you think like, well, don't all players get that? No. No. They have no idea or concept. So Kool-Aid is way above his mental aspects. But, Mike, if you looked at him when he went to Alabama, 5-star recruit, number 1 ranked cornerback in his recruiting class, started as a freshman in 2021, never forfeited that role, including All-American campaigns in 2022 and 2023. So you look at, then you throw in the lanyard, in 2022, he led the FBS in return right at 16 yards a return. So he knows explosive, so his instincts, his quickness, the difference between being like fast and quick. So he didn't run a 4.3, he ran a 4.5. So I just look at him. Now, I didn't know this. I said, well, I know his mom didn't name him Kool-Aid. They know, but then you got a nickname like...
He explained it.
Like it might be like T-Bob or whatever. Like you get a nickname and it just sticks with you, but it's JaQuincy. Yep. So, but nobody's going to call him JaQuincy. They're going to call him Kool-Aid. But, Mike, he's been compared to... If he can turn out like this, I was reading, this is in Lindy's. Okay, when they had... he's compared to a pro comparison to Jar Alexander with the Packers. What? Mike, a faster, now Jar Alexander is a faster, more sudden version of McKinstry. It went on to read that, and he played at Louisville and a cornerback, and also a punt returner. But I would say that Jar Alexander has worked out just fine, considering now he was the 18 overall pick in 2018. Now, and he ran a 4.38 40, but you can see the intangibles, but they both possess winning traits and should be someone you can count on from the get-go to get it done.
My thing is, if you're starting as a true freshman, halfway into your
at Alabama,
they got cats there. Long line of guys that can play.
But the key is, Mike, I know he can have success for sure on the outside, but who's going to play slot corner for the Saints?
He said he's had some work there.
Okay, well then we might
be his permanent spot.
Count on him from the get-go, because if you have that swagger and confidence, that might be the position for him to help the team win and be a top defense.
Bob, before we go to Spencer Rattler, I'll get your thoughts on Spencer. Man, what happened with the 8th overall pick? And that's the most surprising for me of all Mike, the picks in round 1.
That happens every year, Mike.
It does.
We've been doing this since the first draft.
Every year there's one
in the top 10.
Out of alignment. But you just spent all this money on a veteran quarterback, and then you use with a gaping hole as a pass rush defensive end and that corner, and you pick Michael Penix Jr. Yeah. And I know one thing, in doing talk show in Atlanta, man, they raising some sand about that pick. Your thoughts?
Well, and I was at the wedding, Falcons fans out there to go, Bobby, they wanted me to explain to them why we got to help out defense. Why are we going after Michael Penix? Now, they're thinking of the future, but then when you talk about developmental, he's already 24 years of age.
He's developed.
And, and so he might end up working out, but you look at the enormous or gigantic contract that you give Kirk Cousins, so you try and rationalize, and then you can look at it. Well, look at the Chiefs. You look at the Packers. Okay, the Chiefs had Alex Smith, who took them to the playoffs, and a legit starter. We all know that he left and went to Washington, and then he had that horrific leg injury. But Alex Smith was a starter, legit starter with the Chiefs. They still drafted Pat Mahomes. Now, you can look at the age and all that. Then you look at the Packers. You had Aaron Rodgers, and then you have Jordan Love. Okay, comes to the fold. But what's the difference I thought was interesting, that you look at the Packers and Chiefs use first-round picks on their quarterback's future despite having an established starter in place. But rarely have we seen it when a starter is in place, but he's also brand new to the team and with such a high pick in the draft. It's not like Kirk Cousins been with the Falcons, and no, he's having success with the Vikings, not in Atlanta. So this has never happened. This is virgin territory, where all of a sudden you paid Kirk Cousins all this money and you draft a quarterback in the top 10. That's why it's different than Jordan Love and Aaron Rodgers or Pat Mahomes and Alex Smith, because Alex Smith was established then with the Chiefs when he left the 49ers, and then we all know Aaron Rodgers after Brett Favre was established with the Packers. So that's why this is unique, is that Kirk Cousins, Mike, they haven't even started OTAs coming up, and they give him all that money, seasoned veteran, who all Las Vegas, everybody, the Falcons are going to win the NFC South now, and then they draft Penix. That's why it's different when you're trying to compare to maybe this happening in the past with the examples I gave you with the Packers and the Chiefs.
Bobby, you're preaching to the choir.
We talked about this, Thursday verbatim.
To your point about Jordan Love, like the Jordan Love comparison, Jordan Love was picked 26th in the first round.
Not top
That's
10.
A pretty big gap from number 8.
Right.
He was also 20 years old, if not 21 when he was drafted.
He was
and your
young.
point
He was
about
20.
Penix, he was 20. So Penix is 24. He turns 24 this upcoming week. So you're looking at a guy that's NFL ready. And Mike, you and I had talked about this. If you're drafting a quarterback, maybe and once again, I don't think that JJ necessarily would be better than Penix as far as a prospect, but he's more of a developmental guy. I think the reason that Kirk Cousins was so kind of outraged and there was all that buzz about how he felt backstabbed by the move was because they drafted one of the most NFL-ready quarterbacks in this class.
Okay, Bobby, you got to comment on that. Man, you're getting paid.
Hey, no. Okay, Charlie. His agent might be ticked off.
It's $100 million guaranteed for Kirk Cousins, $180 million contract.
How many Who Dat Nation members or football fans out there? I got disrespected, but I'm guaranteed getting $100 million coming my way. Are you kidding me?
Oh, yeah.
Kirk Cousins is a good guy.
He's going to go with the flow.
That will go with the flow. That will not even affect him. He'll say they can bring this guy in.
And he can't beat me out.
No, it'd be like, no, he might eventually beat me out, but this upcoming season, he ain't going to beat me out.
Breathing down his neck.
Yeah. So listen, they might want Penix to play. If Cousins is having success, they're not going to rock the boat. And now, it might be a short leash, but it's kind of like the Jameis Winston syndrome. Jameis Winston's such a great team player. They paid him $11 million to be a cheerleader. Well, you go in the real world, where are you going to make that kind of money? The same thing with Kirk Cousins. He's made more money than Tom Brady.
That is an unbelievable point.
So now he might want to win a Super Bowl, but do you think realistically right now the Falcons are contending in the NFC for the Super Bowl?
No.
They just try to get back to the damn playoffs. they ain't been in the playoffs, in 5 years? And the Saints 3 seasons? No, the NFC South will be interesting. Who's going to come out on top? I'm looking at the weakest schedules, and I can't wait for the schedule to come out. Shame on the Saints if they don't take care of business. But you know what? The Falcons are probably saying the same thing. Tampa Bay's saying the same thing. If you look at the weakest schedules in the NFL, I'm talking about winning percentage, under 50%, their opponents, only 45% going forward. Tampa Bay, the bottom 5, Tampa Bay's 28. Carolina's tied with the Bears at 29, and the Saints and Falcons are tied at 31-32 for the weakest schedule. So with that,
the same teams.
So that's telling me right then. You know who else? Caleb Williams. You better do something with the Bears. Yep. Now you say the NFC North. Look how tough the Lions. You look at the Packers and the Vikings. You look at all that. The challenge is there. But if I'm a Bears fan, I'm holding their feet to the fire, because can you take advantage the strength of schedule. No, people say like, oh, Bobby, the schedule changes every year. Yes, it does. But you look at your opponents and who you're playing as far as the winning percentage is that, okay, I'm not saying you're going to win a Super Bowl, but come on. Instead of being 500, can we get to 10 wins? Look how close the Saints were to 10 wins. So close, but so far. Though woulda, coulda, shoulda. But you have to be in the postseason. And then look who parlayed and took advantage of the opportunity. Look at Baker Mayfield with Tampa Bay. What were you saying at this time last year with Tampa Bay? They ain't going to do nothing.
They were in the Caleb Williams sweepstakes.
We had them either third or fourth in the NFC South.
That's right.
And they end up winning it. So I don't know what's going to happen. So we got to hold the Saints' feet to the fire, Dennis Allen, that you look at where we had strength of schedule, and it's like, okay, it can't be status quo. And I think it might be. I don't know. I'm taking the approach now. Did they come up with the win-loss total over and under in Vegas yet, Mike?
I think it's like 7.5, somewhere in that
I'll
range.
double check it. I think you're
Shame
right,
on the Saints if we don't get them over
It's
7.5
It's
wins.
in that range. I know at one book service it was 7.5.
Well, we can't. We got to. It can't be 4 straight seasons we don't go to the postseason. Who that nation? No, we got to hold the organization, Saints' feet to the fire. They got to be a postseason team.
Bob, your thoughts on Spencer Rattler? I kind of know him because you and I have talked about Spencer a lot.
Well, Mike, when you look at Spencer Rattler and when you think about it, I remember you from day one. And this is based on what he did his redshirt freshman year at Oklahoma. He was unbelievable. He was like, I think, talk about Vegas odds. I know he was in the top 3, if not number 1, as far as futures, like a Heisman Trophy winner, right?
I think that year he came out when the season started, he was second.
Yeah. So the expectations there. And always said, what always caught my attention, Spencer Rattler, I guess you shouldn't view this as you look at a player. He reminded me of the reggae singer from Jamaica, Yellow Man. And I'm looking at, I don't know, he's like maybe an African albino, but then he had dreads and all that. And I think he's kind of cleaned up a little bit. But look, I think he's matured way, put it this way, coming out of high school, and, come on, you're 17, 8 years old. Well, how you think about yourself versus when you get humbled. And he got humbled at Oklahoma because Caleb Williams came on board. So he had to understand and move, and then he goes to South Carolina. Mike, he could spin it. He could spin the rock. I think at times you have to know when to check down. You can't think you can make every throw. I think at times, even though South Carolina's offensive line sucked last year, you got to know where to dump the ball. You can help your offensive line be better than what they really are if you know how to get rid of it and check it down. That's all. But I think the sky's the limit. Considering where the Saints drafted him, Mike, because he was almost, I'd say, now you don't know how they're going to project, but like first-round talent, and the Saints get him in the 5th round. No, the sky's the limit for him. I'm interested to watch him in OTAs and all, how he could throw. When there's no pass rush and all that, I was always fascinated when Jeff George, how he can spin it. But that's the whole thing, how you handle a pass rush. But he seems like he's a good team leader, a good locker room guy. So who knows? You get your foot in the door and you take advantage of that. And look, who knows when he first came on base? He was on board. He was Mr. Irrelevant, Brock Purdy. No one projected Brock Purdy do what he did. So why can't you project maybe Spencer Rattler, considering the offensive system and how they're going to try and help you? Why can't Spencer Rattler have the same upside as Brock Purdy?